In the last episode, we started some power testing inside while the snow came down outside. Being productive when not actually working on the bus is pretty important if we want to take this beast out by springtime. Tests on the Bluetti AC200Max and Euhomy fridge can be pretty useful so that we know what to expect when we actually put them to use out on the road. So as you can see, the Bluetti is fully charged at 100%, and it's about 8:15 at night. What I've done is plugged in the fridge, and I'm about to turn on the AC connection in order to power it up. But first, I'm going to unplug the shore power that's charging the Bluetti. So now it's running on its own power, 100%. But I'm curious, how long would this fridge run just with Bluetti power, with no power going in from solar or shore power or even engine power? I want to see how long this fridge would actually last from 100% charge. So, I'm going to turn on AC. As you probably heard, the compressor kicked on for this fridge. Okay, so the fridge is definitely running. You can see that it's pulling about 56 watts, which is really not a whole lot. Honestly, out of all the things that we're going to have installed, this is probably going to be the hugest power draw of all of the appliances that we have. I've taken AC and heat out of the mix because of a decision I made of what to go for temperature control. In the meantime, the Bluetti will be powering the rest of our setup. The fridge, the water pump for the kitchen, the lights, everything else, all the peripherals that we have set up. But this is the big boy. So let's see how much he draws without any interference, without any other appliances, and without power going in. See you tomorrow and we'll find out. With a little movie magic, we're 24 hours later and we're at 59% total power used. Are you impressed with how long it's been able to be powered off of the Bluetti?
I went for like 24 hours.
Yeah.
Again.
How long did you think the Bluetti would power it?
Probably like a day.
Probably a day? But we've got, how much do we have left? Look.
More than half.
Yeah.
So it's probably gonna last like a few more days.
Yeah. So you can imagine when we take this out, if it's being powered by solar and powered by the engine, we could last for a while.
Like a week, maybe.
Maybe we could push it because it'll constantly be charging even though it's going to be using up power. Are you excited?
Yeah.
The cutest little ice maker ever. Pretty chilly in there. I'm never going to be running just the battery and just the fridge. There's always going to be power going in as well as power going out. The biggest power drawing appliance that I have can successfully run on a Bluetti for a very long time, and that is good for us. So just for the heck of it, I'm going to keep this thing running and see how long it can keep going until I hit 0. And we're at 16%. It's not quite 6 a.m., but we're at 3%. The Bluetti was still going strong, and we still have 2% left. While we're talking about expectations, here's one I made in an earlier episode. I'll break down my kitchen idea and how I'm going to cut a $3,000 price tag down to $1,000. So the question is, was I able to cut down that price tag to what I promised? The answer is yes. I got a great deal on a utility sink cabinet for $277 on Wayfair. The Panther water setup, including a backup freshwater tank, cost me $611. I got the RV faucet and water drop filter on Amazon for $39 and $53 respectively. And lastly, I got the CampLux propane burner setup for $116 for a grand total of $1,096. If you factor in tax and shipping, I've saved a minimum of at least $2,200. Why is this a big deal? Well, in the DIY world, over $2,000 is definitely a big deal. This being said, I would still love to get the Trail Kitchens unit someday, maybe for another build, but for this one I had to be pragmatic. And since the kitchen means a lot to my family, I did a lot of homework to find the best solution. The way I decided on the cabinet was firstly regarding size and features. I knew that it had to house the water tanks and pumps, so that was a key feature. I also needed the height and depth to be appropriate for the space and be compatible with the fridge. As for the faucet and water setup, I probably could have saved more money if I just pieced everything together myself. But similar to my electrical concerns, I didn't want to bite off more than I could chew, or in this case, gulp more than I could swallow with my lack of plumbing knowledge. Luckily, there are many RV equipment vendors out there like Panther Products that sell setups like this in a kit. I'll include the links to this entire setup in the description below. Keep in mind that some of these things were on sale, and so the prices might not match what I spent, but that's part of the fun of doing all this, planning a design and hunting down the deals. The kitchen setup is nowhere near done at this point, but we're off to a great start.
Just for fun, I threw on the sink top that came with the kitchen cabinet to show what it would look like if I just used it as is. I purchased this RV faucet that I think is pretty versatile and exactly what we need. We're not running any hot water, so it's only got an on and an off, and that'll draw from the fresh water. And also I'll be able to connect, when I want to, a hose to this if we want to extend it and use it as an outdoor shower or spray, which I haven't quite set up yet. But you'll notice that it's a fully metal top and got kind of this, this slatted metal surface here. What I was going to do was cut through this and put in the drop-in propane burners, but like I said, we have other plans because we would like butcher block, and we would like the butcher block to extend further past. So rather than utilize this and try and incorporate something that's level, we're going to have butcher block that extends all the way across. And like I said, it's going to extend over the refrigerator, and then it's going to extend even past the refrigerator for plans that I have yet to reveal. But this is a nice peek at what our kitchen setup will look like. As far as underneath, the shelves are predetermined to be this height, but obviously it's not configured to be with these water tanks. So I'm going to raise the shelf up a little bit. And so right underneath here, we're going to have the water pump, the water filter, all the stuff associated with the water. I'll drill holes through the shelf, and that'll all be sink/plumbing. Over here, we're going to have a shelf right about here. Now, here's where I hope to have the propane kind of area that will provide gas for the stove. And so this shelf will be propane, and any connections need to be made there. And then underneath, we're going to have some storage space, which still hasn't been configured yet, but I'd like it to house, obviously, some necessary things for our kitchen.
Stay tuned to see how much winter affects our build schedule and how much more money I can save with my other design choices.